I mean, the guys in that Prince movie?
Yeah, Purple Rain.
That shit was so gay. Fucking 80s style. Hey, you never say an unkind word about that.
Nostalgia in film is a phenomenon in the age of escapism. It is defined as a sentimentality for the past, even a past we have never experienced ourselves. I am interested to find out what is hidden behind these longings for the good old days. Could it be a reaction to the fast technology growth, or our addiction to social media? I will be exploring nostalgia in contemporary films within the issues of personal and collective identity within Call Me By Your Name by Luca Guadagnino and Robert Zemeckis' Forrest Gump. I spend a lot of my time thinking about and indulging in vicarious nostalgia, or as I usually think of it, nostalgia for a time I never experienced myself. Older literature, music, and movies are my ways to indulge in this nostalgia, a complex emotion I savour for its ambivalent mixture of pain, longing, and sense of familiarity and continuity. Sperb says nostalgia is always most intense during periods of dramatic cultural and technological upheaval, whereby the perceived reassurances of a simpler past anchor our perception of an uncertain present and future. Nostalgia, paradoxically, resisting a potentially threatening future. Call Me By Your Name is set in 1983. It's a coming-of-age film about a summer fling between a graduate student named Oliver, who's in his mid-20s, and Elio, the 17-year-old son of the professor with whom Oliver is working and staying with for half the summer. Guadagnino perfectly captures a specific sense of time and place through dinners, trips to the local swimming hole, bike rides into town, all of which is heightened by a nostalgia-inducing soundtrack and gorgeous cinematography that transports you back into the past of being a teenager and experiencing love for the very first time. Nostalgic films, particularly those centred on single protagonists, often foreground emotion. In Call Me By Your Name, emotion is present in the confusion of sexuality and growing up that Elio faces.
You're not sick of me yet?
No, I just wanted to be with you. I'll go.
Call Me By Your Name is a reconstruction of the past, meaning they mix the past and the present. Therefore, it presents a more impressionable or subjective version of the past in 1983. As I mentioned in Call Me By Your Name, nostalgia films' reconstruction of the past can be seen by critics as ethically questionable. They often feel the past is not being portrayed realistically. However, Barron suggests the gimmick in Forrest Gump is its technical feat. This depends on the viewer's recognition of the temporal and intentional disparities within the single frame, on realising the trickery. However, if the gimmick goes unrecognised, the historical record is potentially changed for the viewer. Forrest Gump takes viewers on a ride through the 1950s, 60s and 70s, right into the mid-1980s. Along the way, Forrest and Jenny represent two different paths that Americans travelled during the time, which is shown through their own perspective, meaning events are told through the character's memory, which isn't always historically accurate. There is a podcast called The Nostalgia Trap, which taps on how nostalgia is used in Forrest Gump.
But I don't know, just to go back to like, the historical context, like the 90s stuff, it feels like the 60s were in the air, and Forrest Gump was taking that stuff and projecting it in a way that made sense to Americans. It was like, I don't know, it's the film's politics are all over the place, and we can get into that. But I feel like that's that's part of it. Is the 90s. The 90s moment produced this nostalgia about the 60s.
Nostalgia Chat podcast touches upon how Zemeckis hides the film's deeper engagement with the politics of the 1960s and 70s, and helps frame how some of Gump's key characters and scenes often dangerously distort our view of American history. In conclusion, I believe nostalgia stems from a longing of the past or a concept of memory, since it recalls times and places that are no more or out of reach. Lowenthal states, "We crave evidence that the past endures in recoverable form. Some agency, some mechanism, some faith will enable us not just to know it, but to see it and feel it." Call Me By Your Name was a perfect example of personalised nostalgia, where we witnessed Elio's first love and discovery of his sexuality. Forrest Gump represents a reconstruction of the past through American history. Panty explains nostalgia was once known as a disease, however, today it is used to make money in the film industry. I believe nostalgia will continue to be used as a mode in film, because everyone wants to hold on to something, even something they might have not experienced firsthand.